Hello everybody. This is my first first film in English, and in this one I would like to talk about homeopathy as a medicine of gods. I'm gonna describe what I mean and why I'm using that that name for that concept or that concept for homeopathy. First of all, I just would like to say that I am not a homeopath, but I have been a patient. I have been going through constitutional treatment, very deep and very heavy for me. And it's been taking a moment. It wasn't an easy task for a homeopath, actually, for me as a patient. But what happened to me really opened my eyes for who I am, but also what homeopathy really is, what potential it has. And I just decided to present my story, my path, for people to listen. In 2018, I've been having problems since physical problems since 2012, something like that. They were mostly pains, but they were kind of coming and going, and I didn't really pay so much attention because they were actually leaving, even though they were bothersome for a few days, but they were actually afterwards, after 3 days, 2 days, they were kind of leaving. So I didn't really think so much about it. Prior to that, I have received a few, I'm not gonna say the word because I don't really want to have any problems, 11 of them. There were many reasons why I decided to walk that path. I'm talking about and then they kind of ruined my health. But even though it kind of happened immediately, the side effects, I didn't notice that immediately. Like, I didn't connect the facts. It took me, I think, 10 years until I kind of met my husband, who is a homeopath, to really understand what happened. But anyway, 2012, I started having these issues, even though there were issues, medical issues, physical issues prior to that. But I didn't do anything. But 2018, I started really, I started being more impatient. Like, there was more and more of these issues, there was more and more pain, more and more this, and there was blood in stool and stuff like that. And I decided to ask a world actually renowned homeopath to treat me. I applied to be his patient and I was accepted. And the treatment started, and at the beginning I kind of didn't really notice much. I thought it was not really working, but it was actually working. It started working. But it was kind of like quietly working from within. In 2020, I sent a report to my homeopath. There were many issues, and one of them was extreme vertigo, and it was every day, every night, and it was like, it wasn't really for a day or for a week. It was like at that moment it was for 5 weeks going constantly. So I just decided to send a new report, and professor prescribe a new remedy. And usually when I tell my story and when what I wrote in my book, because I did write a book about everything, but the book is in Polish at the moment, not in English. That's why I don't really recommend it here. But anyway, I never mentioned the name of the remedies because I feel it doesn't make any sense. as homeopathy is really prescribed based on individual symptoms. But I would like to mention that remedy, what professor prescribed to me. It was phosphor. Phosphor is a very special element, not a remedy, although the remedy as well, but the element. It's natural, it's like earthy, it's like contactor, it's like the end of our material realm and the beginning of the next realm, which is ether. That's phosphor. It's like a connector. Like, I don't know really what words to use here. So anyway, phosphor did something extremely extraordinary to me. It was like a meteor. It hit me like the one that is hitting Earth, like crushing atmosphere and going down to Earth. But my meteor, it didn't really come from outside. Of course, as a remedy, it came from the inside. It opened my electromagnetic field. It really connected me with my subconscious, with ether, basically. So that was November 2020. 5 weeks later, I started experiencing something that it was authentically horrible, and I thought that was death. I thought I was dying. I had panic attack. I sent a report like very fast to professor, to my homeopath, and he gave me the name of the new remedy. And I took that remedy, and I calmed down. Everything went fine. And then afterwards, because in that moment I was just not able to really write correct report, like a big report. It was just a few words like, oh my god, professor, what's going on? I think I'm dying, please help me. So after a few hours, or the next day, I wrote a big report, and then I just described everything as I felt. And I felt that basically I was dying, and I felt like I didn't feel the limits. It was just limitlessness. It was vast. The vastness was just horrible, and the unknown, because I was experiencing something that was absolutely unknown. That's why I thought I was dying. That's how people feel and experience death. Professor replied with a new remedy, but also he wrote something that really opened my eyes. He said that I experienced externalization of etherical body. At that time, I just didn't know what it was. I mean, etherical body, yes, okay, it was just ringing some bells, but I just totally didn't know. But I didn't search because I got so scared of that experience that I didn't search. But I accepted. I trust professor. I respect him, so I respected his message. I'm not gonna describe everything. The book is over 200 pages, and I'm not gonna actually sit here and describe my experience. This is just to like the introduction to what homeopathy, the medicine of God, is. But anyway, so that was the first etherical experience that I felt, that I had a chance to see with my own eyes. The next one, it was 2 weeks later. It was a totally different remedy I was actually taking at that time. It wasn't phosphor. Phosphor was just the indicator. He started everything. The next one was, and at that time, actually, I didn't know what was going on. It was just months later that I could give names to what was going on with me. So the next one, 2 weeks later, after the externalization, was I activated this chakra, which almost ended up in the psychiatric hospital. It was authentically one of the worst experiences of my life. 2 weeks later, I experienced something that I thought it was a menopause. It was again horrible, again panic attack, like horrible. And then when I sent a report to my homeopath professor, he indicated, he asked basically if I have ever activated or tried to activate Kundalini. If so, what was the effect? Then I understood what I was feeling. It wasn't menopause, it was Kundalini. I authentically felt, like experienced the like a ball of heat rising from the bottom of my body, my spine, going through my body here. And when it was getting here, I got extreme, like if the panic attack was there, I felt almost like the energy was stuck here, and it created something like a boiling sensation with the, like there was a pot here and there was a lid on top of it. And then because I was so scared, the steam couldn't really leave the top of my head, and it got stuck. And of course, the fact that it got stuck and I experienced that sensation, it may be even bigger panic attack. But if I was not so scared, the energy, the heat left my body up till like 30 centimeter above. Afterwards, I didn't experience, I don't know where it went. And the moment that it was leaving my body through the top of my head, I experienced something like visions inside. So that was Kundalini. Afterwards, I experienced the biggest trauma that was submerged down deep in my subconscious. The trauma from my childhood. The sphere of light coming and visiting me. That was authentically, it broke me for 2 years. Of course, everything was, I was communicating with my homeopath professor. Afterwards, after this experience, a few days later, that was in March, so 2 months after the initial etherical experience, I experienced death, not clinical death, not physical death. Obviously, I'm here. Afterwards, it was the dark night of the soul. Everything lasted in extremely intensive form for 1 year. And for me to kind of start living again, it took 2 years. I'm 5 years after that experience now. Why am I talking about this? Because I really want to talk about homeopathy. So when I was going through this difficult path, the first 5 months were extreme, 6 months actually. I had 4 exits, 4 ways to exit that problem. One was to commit a suicide. The other one was to go to the hospital and basically be the psychiatric patient till the rest of my life, because everything was just so intense that there was no other way. The other way for me was, of course, to use homeopathy. My husband was a homeopath. I was using homeopathy with professor. And the fourth way was to use some other alternative medicine like acupuncture, acupressure. So the first one, to kill myself, to commit suicide, was out of the question, because in my childhood I experienced many people around me that did commit suicide, and it just scared me out of my mind. And I knew I will never ever want to do something like that. The other one, to go to the hospital and basically be a psychiatric patient, was so extremely scary to me. I was begging my husband, please don't ever call an ambulance or take me to the hospital unless you see that I am unconscious. I'm not moving, I'm not talking, then you have my permission, please take me. Otherwise, I'm begging you, never do that. Because I was just so scared. The third option was to use other alternative ways, but that was also out of the question, because in many of these, I mean all of them really, all these occasions, like I needed help now. not like in 2 days, not in 5 hours. I needed it now. These panic attacks were so extremely intense that I just needed right now. So homeopathy was left. Then I started thinking why homeopathy was shown to me like this is the best way. What is in homeopathy that it was presented to me as the only way for me?